gosh. All right. I'm going to try something different now. Ay, ay, ay. Well, let's welcome to Monday Motivation with I Bring It Every Day. Yep. So let's do Monday. Gonna try this again here. Yes. And then if not, I guess that's a good sign. Okay. Yes. Okay. There we go. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Okay. Every day. I'll try this. All right. There we go. So hopefully, let's see now. All right, there we go. Let's try it again. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. Trolls. Nice. Yes. See how we're doing here. Okay, I see somebody there. We got a couple of eyes. Thanks for coming in. Trying to see if I can find my stream here. And but thank you so much for coming in. It's Monday Motivation with I Bring It Every Day channel. And the plan is to see if I can get this chat. There it is. Get the chat going. See how we're doing? Okay. Very good. Welcome in. So we're trying to start our week off on a positive note and to get our minds right so that we can move forward in any of the plans that we want to do for the future. And the I Bring It Every Day channel is a safe space. Yes. Yeah, they don't want this, right? No more. Yeah, I know. It's brutal. But I'm going to see if I can find my stream so I can at least look at the chat because I can't see it. All right. So, anyway, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to put this quote up back again. This is just something to think about. But anyway, thanks for coming. Thanks for bearing it out with me. I'm just trying to get this couple little thoughts out today. And I know I just went, oh my gosh, what a nightmare. But I guess, it's funny. I guess I'm finding that this platform may not want positive motivation. I think that might be the thing. Because I wanted to try to get some new people, sort of, um, to the channel just to see if they like it. But I don't know. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. So there it is. So this is this quote from Mark Twain. I'm just going to read it again. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect. And like I said a little earlier, is that, I was one of those people who was very, I followed my parents, to a fault. I really didn't think about, like, what did I really believe? You know what I mean? And so I think the whole thing is with life, you really, if you're smart, you'll try to come up with your own conclusions about things and not just blindly believe or follow other people. And and so I definitely lived most of my life kind of in the majority or tried to live with the majority and get myself saying, okay, I wanted to be like on a team, but kind of to the detriment of me not using my own brain and figuring out things on my own. And so I always say to people, make sure that you try to think about things and try to do your own research and think about things, you know, on your own. And that's very important. And so that's kind of the thought that I just wanted to leave today. Okay, we've got 11 people. Thanks for coming in. Okay. So anyway, so let me know what you think. And hey, Emily. Yeah, yeah, I'm telling you. Yes. I know it's brutal. Yeah, but anyway, but please give a thumbs up and I'll tell you. So this is just a little quote that I saw from Mark Twain that I thought was interesting. Okay. Now, so today really what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about gratitude. And one of the things that we found on or that I found in the Dollar Tree, and I probably won't show it because that may be why they yanked my stream. But they have these little gratitude journals in the stationery area, and they're just real bare bones. But one of the things that they do that I really like is they kind of get you thinking about gratitude, and but also, so anyway, so let me just step back just for a second. So the whole thing that I try to do is I try to every day sort of learn something new, and that's kind of the, if nothing else, I try to learn one new fact, one new thing that's helpful just in terms of life, and then think about what I'm grateful for. So they have this great gratitude journal where they say, today I'm grateful for, and you write it in. And then it says, something I look forward to is, I always say learning one thing every day. And like I said, I'm grateful for my family. And then I can serve others by, and there's a space. And then a lesson I learned is blank. So, so one of the lessons that I said, I think that goes back to this quote is, I definitely learned that you have to do your own research. You have to come up with your own ideas, and you have to be confident in your ideas instead of blindly following people. So that's a lesson that I learned, and I think it has served me well, more or less over these last few. Yeah. So anyway, so how'd your premiere go? I saw it kind of running while I was there, but that's good. Yes, yes, yes. So anyway, so that's where we are today. Now let me just see if I can pull this a little bit forward. There's my, yes, yes, yes. There we go. I think that looks better. Yes, yes. Here we go. All right. So anyway, so motivation. So you remember every week is a new opportunity to try something new or to work any of the plans that you have. So like I have some vacation plans and I know that's not real fancy, but when you're looking at vacation, like I want to go to Hawaii, and I got to figure out how I'm going to do it. I don't even know. And I'm looking at Hawaii. And I think a lot of this stuff, if you write it down, I hope I'm spelling this right. If you write it down, you got to figure out how you're going to get there and when you want to go. So, you got to think about when, you know, how much money do you need, cost, how much, how you're going to save it, because you have to save it or, however you want to do it, how to save how to whoops, how to save the money, you know what I mean? So things like that, you got to think about how to save the money. And then, how do you want to go? Do you want to cruise? Do you want to fly there? Do you want to Airbnb? All these things. All these things you got to figure out. And then who you're going with, like hopefully you have that figured out. But then you have to figure out. So let's just say I know for a fact it's going to cost $5,000 for two people. You know what I mean? So how can I save $5,000 in 1 year? So you divide that by 12, and then you sort of go from there. And then you figure out, and then you got to find, maybe a travel agent, because I think when you go to a place, and you have to figure out how long. Yeah, how long, right? How long? So Hawaii for me, because I'm on the East Coast, is 12 hours. It's a 12-hour flight. So that means 24 hours is spent flying, just flying. So that means you need at least 2 days, right? Just for the travel aspect of it. And then, then you have to figure out like, will it, so anyway, so these are just sort of like basic ways that you can set a plan. You have to figure out how much it's going to be, how long, when do you want to go, so you figure sometimes it might take you a year to figure that out. So it might be 365 days, it might be 2 years or a year and a half, 18 months. You know what I mean? You got to figure that out to save $5,000, right? I mean, I don't know, what your financial situation is, but it's things like that. But you figure you're going to need at least 2 days just for travel, and that's at the minimum. 2 days. I would say 2 days. It's really one day of travel, but you need to go up and back. So at least 2 days. So from the East Coast, I know I would have to stay at least, see, like a 7-day vacation would not work, right? Because 2 days is just worth traveling or used for traveling. So I would need to stay, you know, 10 to 14 plus days. And it may actually cost more than this. I mean, I don't know. You have to do your research. And that's really like the thing that you have to do. So if you have any plans of the future, I mean, this is just real basic, but this is one of the things that you need to do whenever you're planning for the future. Yes. Oh, thanks, Suzanne. I know. I'm going to try this one more time. But anyway, I appreciate you coming back. Oh, but it went well. Great. Yes, yes. So anyway, so this is just like a basic plans that you want to do. But also in life, you always want to get yourself, you always want to make yourself, get better. So, what can I do? Like if you don't like where you are right now, how can you get better? So there's a lot of things that you can do. Let's say exercise. I'm just giving you examples. Exercise, if you want to lose some weight. Do you need more education? Do you need to go back to school? You know what I mean? To do, like, if you wanted to do a new job, right? Do I need more education? And these are just like small. And then, do you have like family goal or personal goals? You know what I mean? So these are basic goals, personal goals, right? And let's say if you're single, do you want to get married and have children? How are you going to go out and meet good people, to marry and have children with, right? So things like that. So, and then really what you have to do is you have to make sure that all this is defined as you can get it. Because if you just say I want to exercise, well, you need to know like how much. Uh like, do you want to lose weight? You know what I mean? Do you want to lose weight? Do you just want general health? General health, mobility, should you join a gym? All these questions. And then the cost of the gym, things like that. And then you can sort of make these things time bound. How am I going to pay for this stuff? Same thing, with the education. And then your personal goals, these can be real, but I want you just to think about these things. Is there something in your personal life that you want to do better? So for me, this was more like family time. I wanted to spend time with family and spend quality family time, quality family time. Yeah. And so, and one of the things that my family and I started doing is we started meeting for lunch. So we would meet twice a month, 2 times, twice a month, to hang out and just, eat a little meal and then kind of catch up and make sure that we're involved in our children's lives, even though they're out of the house. But we just like to do personal things like that. Maybe you want to get closer to your spouse. Maybe you want to get closer to your children. So there's things that you have to do to to sort of make your life better. So the whole thing is, I think you want to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday. Oh, hey Nate, how are you? What is up? Okay. And there's Miguel, who knows? Howdy, good to see you. All right now. So yeah, so the Monday motivation has been very interesting today. I said I think YouTube does not want me to motivate people. I know that's right. So these are just personal things that you can think about if you want to make changes in your life, And this is just real basic, you know. But I always say, like, you really want to try to figure out if there's anywhere in your life that's lacking. You want to try to increase, to make it better. So you got to figure out how to get there, right? So so the main thing is everything has to be kind of a. So like I said, this is real basic, but then you have to put a time. You got to say, okay, you got to put a time to everything, time bound. And if you and what I mean by time bound is, let's say you want to exercise, right? But you want to say, I want to join a gym within 2 months. And let's see, what is it now? April. So let's say by May 1st, let's just say May 1st, May 1st, 2025, I want to join the gym. And then, oops, GYM, join the gym. And then you got to figure out where you want to go. So let's just say, I don't know, the ones that are on TV, they always have these little specials. So they were like $24 a month. So it's going to be $24 per month. And I don't know how long of a contract you have to sign. But let's just say maybe you want to join the gym and do a 1 year contract. So you just have to, you have to know that you need this $24 a month to continue, you know, doing your gym. And then, then you gotta then at that time you say, do I want to, do I want a personal trainer? Will that help me reach my goals? Let's say I have to lose, 100 pounds. I'm just making a say I want to lose 100 pounds. Do you want a personal trainer? And then how much does this guy cost? You know what I mean? Or person. Yeah. So all these little things that you can say. So by May, you want to come up with, let's say, 3 or 4 months of this payment so that you have that available to go to the gym. And then you say, well, when am I going to go to the gym? You got to put a schedule, a schedule, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I don't know. I'm just picking days from like 7 to 8 a.m. So things like that. So then you have to put that in your schedule and, hold yourself accountable and maybe even get a partner, while you're there. Hopefully you'll meet somebody there. But these are just basic things that you have to do to when you're planning out your future. Now, a lot of people say, you don't want to, you have to plan. You don't want to over plan. And so there's always a balance with all this stuff. But if you put a time, if you make it time bound, it really does help you cement the time, that you need. So in other words, this says, okay, by May 1st, I'm going to sign up for that gym membership and start going. And then just making sure that you have, you know, what you need to make that happen. So you need the time. You have to set aside the time. You also have to set aside the cash and then actually go. And so, what I would do if I remember I belonged to a gym for a really long time and then it ended up closing. But the whole thing was I would go the same time every day and then I would try to do a different exercise. I sort of mixed it up, to try to do like a whole body thing. And this particular gym, they gave you a personal trainer, I think, for like 3 days. You had 3 sessions, which was really nice because it could set up a program for you. And you would sort of tell them what you wanted to work on and things like that. And then they would write down a little plan for you. And then they would kind of, kiss you goodbye when it was over. And then that was it. And that really helped to kind of get started. And I did lose, a bunch of inches and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. But there's that. So these are just little things, but you got to make sure you put some time to it, and just remember. And like I said, I don't want you to overwhelm yourself with planning, but I think planning really does help you to sort of put things in perspective. And then the next thing is, definitely writing things down, and if you have to get some kind of a diary, so write it down, and whatever it is you do, write it down. So write it down. Write it down. And I think that's really important. And that gives you like a full, it just the act of writing it down really cements that in your brain. And then you can always go back and let's just say this is a diary. I'm not going to show it because I think that got me in trouble. But like I said, you have this diary, you write it down, you put your notes in here. And that's one of those things that you can do to and then you can always go back and reflect. Like while you're eating your breakfast or something, or while you're eating dinner, you can go, okay, well, today. So I would always say at the end of the day or the end of the week, just go back and just reflect. You know what I mean? And just reflect on what you did well. So I really think it's always important to go back and reflect, after a period of time. So you can do 1 week, or you can do one day, as you're brushing your teeth at the end of the night. You can say, okay, well, today I did X, Y, and Z. I accomplished a couple things. And like I said, that's the whole thing. You want to accomplish just a few things every day. It doesn't have to be tons. But oh, Crochet Queen, hello, good to see you. Yeah. So you want to reflect and go back and just say, okay, what did I do? So then you want to celebrate. I'm going to say celebrate any accomplishments, if you have any accomplishments. So let's say I lost 5 pounds last week. 5 pounds, I don't know, LBS. See, I lost 5 pounds last week. Last week, I can't spell. I lost 5 pounds. I lost 5 pounds last week. You celebrate that. I ate better last week. Did I eat good meals? Did I skip the junk food? Yes. So if you skip junk food, you skip the junk food for, I don't know, 5 out of 7 days, you know what I mean? That's an accomplishment, you know what I mean? And all those little things you have to celebrate. Because remember, it's always, tiny steps, tiny steps. But like I said, when you write all this down, you can always come back and reflect. And then you look at where you were, like let's say, over time goes by and a year goes by and you go, man, I lost, 30 pounds last year. That's pretty good. Or whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever it is. So let's say I took, if you wanted to go back to school, you took that class, you got an A in it, all these little things, these little small goals you have to celebrate. And I think a lot of people don't do that. And and always remember that people may not celebrate with you, but I think if you accomplish anything, is even if it's small, always celebrate it. You got to give yourself, a little pat on the back because nobody else will. Yep. So there we go. And this is something that, my husband and I started sort of doing back in like 2022, end of 2022. We started trying to eat a little bit better. And we started, well, we definitely skipped like fast food. That was our big thing. And we really enjoyed fast food. And a lot of people do because it's easy. And, but we have not been in the arches and it's been, ooh, how many years now? I can't even count. It's probably been 3 years. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. Yeah. So that was one of the things that we needed to do to help to move our health along. Yep. So just little things like that. So let's go back again. I'm just gonna reiterate. So when you make these goals, now oh the other thing that I forgot to mention is that goals um can be short term. So yeah, let's go back. So goals can be short term and then medium and long term, right? So the long term, I would say 5 years plus, 3 years, 3 years to five, or plus, you know what I mean? Short is maybe, a day to maybe a month. Medium is probably 3 months to a year. And, you can break it down. And the thing is, when I was saying that they're time bound, this is kind of where you have to think about it. Even if you have to break it down by the day, this is kind of how you look at goal setting, in life is that you definitely need to put a time on there. Oh, so Suzanne's saying, go hit up Mickey D's and get shocked by the cost. How much is it? I have no idea. I heard that something was like 30 bucks. Somebody said a pizza was like 40 bucks somewhere. And I went, $40. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. Let me see if that's in the shot there. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it looks good. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I heard that fast food. Well, and it's not going to get any better. It's not going to get any better. Yeah, with all these price changes. It seems like we are going through price increases every month. Like every week actually. Sometimes in the supermarket. It's crazy. Yeah, I'm almost afraid to do that. But let me know what you think if this makes any sense. And this is like I said, I try to go back and reiterate this because I think a lot of people, um, if you don't put any kind of time attached to these goals, then they're just dreams. You know what I mean? And so you really, really want to do that. Hey, Scott. Oh, okay. Okay. So Suzanne's saying, I heard the prices are high, but I don't go there. Oh, no. Your favorite pizza is $25. Wow, that's crazy. And good morning, Scott. How are you? That's crazy. But I'm going to put this little quote in here again. And I'm just going to say, you know, like I said, always do your research. You know, oops, wrong one. Always do your research, with all these things. And like I said, don't listen to me. But I think, you know, after you live a while, you kind of go, oh yeah, this is you see so many things, that you say, oh my gosh, $25? I know that is crazy. Yeah, China. Isn't that crazy? But there we go. But anyway, this is my favorite quote from Mark Twain. And I'm just saying, when you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect. And just let that marinate for a minute. Okay, let's see. So, okay, Scott's saying my favorite pizza is homemade. Oh yes, yes, yes. But I can't believe $25 for a pizza. They used to be two for 25. You could get, I think, two mediums here. I don't even know what they are anymore. See, we don't buy pizza like we do anymore. Yeah, we used to buy a lot of pizza. But let's see. Suzanne saying, I'll do pizza and Chinese delivery, but that's it. No overinflated franchise food deliveries for me. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, like I said, there's a lot of misinformation in the news, and I just say to people, um, just do your own research, look at both sides, and then determine what you believe. Yeah. And yeah, following the majority, I was always very guilty of doing that. And but I'm finding as I get older, I'm just like, let me just look behind the scenes and see what's happening. But anyway, there's that. But like I said, oh, make pizza Friday for dinner. Oh, I will. That sounds really good. Well, thank you, Suzanne. I think I might do that. I will definitely do that. But anyway, so today's Monday motivation was definitely a challenge. So this is the one thing I want to say is here's the last little point I'll put today is let me see if I can I spell this correctly. This is what you have perseverance. Yes, perseverance. So, and that means never give it, never give up. Never give up. Yes. Oops. Never give up. I had this song in my head, so this is why I can't write. Never give up. So perseverance. So today, yeah, my live stream was like, nope, two times. So, the whole thing is, you're gonna find obstacles along the way. And you have to sort of work your way through the obstacles. And you can't let anyone or anything get in your way. And that is where we are today. So I think today I have shown some perseverance. And I hope I spelled that right. Perseverance. Yes. So this is what you have to do in life. Because like I said, there's negative people. And I would also say, no, I've been listening to a lot of motivational people. And one of the things that they say is, oh, great motivation on this rainy day. Thank you. Now chicken yard is all. Okay. Oh, Miguel, he's chasing the chickens. I'm thinking that's what he's doing. Yeah. But the whole thing is, like I said, you got to persevere through all this. And, if your plans don't work out, you just have to adjust. And that's really the big thing. So, perseverance means never giving up, but you also have to adjust. So sometimes, things don't work out as you plan, but you just adjust. And, if you go left and it's not working, you got to go right. Just for example, things like that. So that's where it is. Yeah, you got to adjust. And that's kind of what I did today. I think this is a prime example. And the weather is terrible. So I can't get in the yard. I really need to go out there and do some, yard work, but I don't know what you do. This is kind of brutal. This is brutal. This is brutal. So I don't know. So anyway, so China, if you're still here, is always a pleasure. I don't see China as much as I used to. She's the crochet queen. So always a pleasure to see you. I hope everything's going well for you. And yes, yes, yes. So please, like I said, trying to spread some positivity. I'm just gonna say this. Positivity. I can't write this morning. Trying to spread some positivity on the YouTube streets. And like I said, sometimes people try to shoot you down, but keep your dreams. And this is the thing that I saw this a couple, I've been seeing people talking about that. They say keep your dreams to yourself. Isn't that interesting? Yep. Keep your dreams to yourself. Now you can write it down in a journal, and I think they're right. And this is why. I'll tell you why. Keep your dreams to yourself. And what they say is, oh yeah, you're here. Yeah. So anyway, so thank you so much for coming, China. It's always a pleasure to see you, and I hope you and your family are doing great. But here's one thing they say: is they say keep your dreams to yourself. The reason why is negativity. Like a lot of times, your family, sometimes your family, or sometimes your spouse. Luckily, it's not my spouse, but sometimes people will shoot down your dreams. So this could be friends, family. Because a lot of times people don't understand. What you're trying to do. You know what I mean? And they mean well because they don't want to see you fail. You know what I mean? But the other thing is sometimes people will actually try to block your dreams, and this is with the negativity. You know what I mean? So they say kind of hold those things close to your vest. Let me know what you think in the chat, or in the comments section for anybody who might be watching the replay. I'm just wondering if this is true. I don't know, but I'm really starting to think very seriously about this. Keeping those dreams to yourself. But yes, and then Suzanne said, "Muddy yard work. Just got out there and persevere." That's right. Just go out there and persevere. That's right. Just get out there and persevere. That's right. So, and so the whole thing is, the evil plan of the I Bring It Every Day channel is to be here and not be here. And I'm just going to do the no negativity, stick to the positivity. Yes. Oh, and don't join an MLM. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is the biggest scam. I cannot believe how MLMs really get people. It's very tragic, you know. And I noticed that like people today, I think people today are less likely to join one of those, Suzanne, only because they're so pricey, and people really they kind of need the money now, versus later. So I'm gonna steal this one quote from this journal. So this is the plan of the I Bring It Every Day channel, right? No negativity, keep that positivity going. And then and I'm gonna steal this. This is not my quote, but I'm liking this one. And this because it seems like every time I show this thing, it blows up the stream. So I'm gonna just put this in here. We'll be positive. Yep. So think positive, be positive, and make sure like they say count your blessings. So even though things may not be going right, just kind of think about and be grateful. Be grateful for what is going right. You know, and always thank the Most High for everything that you have. So, for example, and this is just an example of gratitude, is oh, good morning, the underrated darkness, Rosie Posey, also hi. Yes, okay, Rosie Posey saying I agree. It's not safe to share every idea. Also hi, thank you. Very interesting. Yes. So I don't know. I mean, it's interesting about the sharing of ideas. So, on social media, like there's a lot of, well, we've talked about this before. Suzanne's, she's in the creative community. A lot of creators get a lot of their stuff stolen, and it's kind of tragic. And usually the one that steals it, gets more financial reward than the one that actually produces it. So it's kind of sad. And I listen to a lot of these stories of people in the music industry. I like music. So you hear these sad stories, and it does make you, it's tragic, like really really talented people don't get paid for what they do. And it's really interesting. But yes. And then okay, yeah, Suzanne saying many unscrupulous motivational speakers are pro MLM and use religious manipulation for personal gain. Ooh, yeah. My favorite thing, I'm still I shouldn't laugh, but I think it's hilarious. But you know that minister that locked the doors and said he needed $40,000 a couple weeks ago? That was crazy. I was like, wow. I think if anybody locked the doors on me, they would have gotten well, it would have brought out a little bit of violence in me, and I'm not a violent person, but that would have really made me uncomfortable. Yeah. So I would have been like, "Oh boy. Yes. It's kind of brutal." Yep. So these are just kind of the things that I want to just say today. Yes, and then artists are at risk when publicly sharing works. That's right. Yes, and then Rosie Posey saying Suzanne so true. But anyway, well, thanks for the new people for coming in. This is really good. Today was a little rocky, but I would say, just try to make this week a positive week. Try to set the intention of being positive. And we're trying to do something here on social media that you don't see a whole lot. And that's really the plan, that I was trying to do. And I've seen a lot of negativity on social media, and that's kind of why I'm here. And yeah. And so I'm really, like I said, I'm trying to sort of turn this around. And the I Bring It Every Day channel is a safe space. And I just want you guys to feel comfortable talking about some of these things, And let's see. Oh yeah, and then Suzanne said, "Oh, I didn't hear about the preacher's prank, but I believe stuff happens more than we know." Yeah. And this guy's very 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 popular. And I couldn't believe it. Like I said, "Oh my gosh. This is really sad." You know what I mean? I feel so I don't know. It just I mean, people, it's just disheartening because it's so disingenuous, And people come to church and religion looking for spiritual guidance, and unfortunately they're getting this really negative, ugh, and unhelpful thing from these people, and that's very tragic. Yes, it is. Right. Yep, that's right, Suzanne. Religious manipulation is horrible and rampant, and I feel so bad for these people, you know what I mean? So there it is. So I'm just like, I'm just hoping that all I want people to do is just to do the right thing, and I know that's really simplistic, but most people know right from wrong. They really do. But do they choose to do it? That's the question. Yes. Oh, and they target children. Wow. Yeah, that's very true too. Yes. So I've had kind of a mixed bag, with religion, so I understand that more than most people, you know what I mean? Because you go through life, and then you're looking for some answers, to try to manage. Because like for a lot of people, life isn't perfect. You know what I mean? And I just feel so bad, for those people. You know what I mean? Yep, 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 yep. So there it is. See, Rosie Posey. Posy. So thank you so much for coming. Yes, yes. We got the Crochet Queen. We got Suzanne. Let's see, I'll do Suzanne. Just want to make sure. Suzanne came. Thank you so much. Let's see. We got Sink Scott. Oh, the underrated darkness. Hmm. Thank you so much for coming. It's two R's, right? No, just one. Underrated darkness. Okay. Thank you so much for coming. I think I saw Emily, wherever she is. You see, we saw, let me go to another one. We got Scott. Okay, Scott. Scott was here. He's controversial cruising. Cruising. Yes. Let's see. And then the crochet queen. China. And I don't think I missed anybody else. And any of the lurkers. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, glad to be here, Rosie. Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, and then Rosie said, oh, yes. Oh, Suzanne saying, yes, Rosie, best to try to never be vulnerable. Yeah. And then Rosie saying, my son included, he's so confused by the mixed messaging and fear mongering. Wow. And you said, yep. Oh, glad to be here. Thank you, Rosie. And then Suzanne saying, social media is hard for youth to navigate. I don't know how they do it. It is brutal. Oh, Miguel. I forgot Miguel. Who knows? Yep. Who knows? That's his channel. The chickens. And that's Miguel. All right. So let's go out there and do some good works, and figure out, how you can serve people. And this is something I've really not talked about, but I might build on this next time. Is figure out what you can do to serve people. Can you volunteer in a place that might need some help, and things like that. See if that fits in the shot there. The crochet queen, Rosie Posey. Yeah, things like that. But I feel, and like I said, I feel not sorry, but I just hope that parents who have, young children that are that are navigating social media really talk them through some of these things that we sort of talked about today. Some of the positivity, the negativity, and how to manage that. Because I know in school there's just so much, there's a lot going on, and I think the kids today have it a little bit tougher because of the social media aspect, because that stuff never erases. It's kind of tricky. And I would always tell, if I had a young kid, I always say, don't forget, anything you put out here that's crazy, it's going to be out here forever. So I just want people to, remember that. Yep. Yes. Okay. And Suzanne's saying she's going to be productive. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. Yeah. Just be as productive as you can. I'm not saying you got to work yourself to the bone, because that's not really it either. I think you just have to do the best you can, and every day just be a little bit better. Yeah. And that's the deal. And then the final message is, uh, see, running out of paper here. But anyway, thank you for the people that came by. And also, thank you. Okay. Just thank you for all of the support. Thank you all. Hmm. And have a great day. Have a great week, and all those things. And come back and visit. I'm usually popping up here and there. All right, now. Well, listen, have a good one. And I will see you soon on the I Bring It Every Day channel. This is Kelly. Bye bye. Yes, yes. Let's see if I can do this without